We always say what we do at SingleThread is tell the story of today. First and foremost, guided by the vegetables in our farm. We focus on the seasons in agriculture. We take the ethos and the principles of Japanese cooking and hospitality, and we just apply them to where we are in California. Oftentimes as chefs, we thinking so much about just like the food on the plate, and we lose sight of the whole experience. There's an idea in Japanese of omotenashi, a very genuine, very warm type of hospitality. We want to bring that to a fine dining environment. Hey, good morning. I'm Kyle Connaughton. I'm the chef and owner of SingleThread Farm Restaurant and Inn in Healdsburg, California. We're just about to start prep for the day. The harvest is about to come in, so come right in. I'm going to take you back into the butcher room and meet Blake. He's the chef that does all of our butchery. What's up, chef? So this is a temperature-controlled, insulated room that we built here in the back specifically for all of our fish, our seafood, and our meat butchery here.
This guy right here is a whole shima aji from Kagoshima, from Japan. So this is an act called tsukibiki, where you're kind of scaling the fish with a knife. Ideally, if you're like really good at your job and you're like a pro sushi chef as well, they try to like move the fish as minimal as possible. So there is like certain rotations. We do this Japanese breaking method called sanmai oroshi, breaking the meat of the belly and the loin separately so that it's still attached. Then you can fillet it out. A lot easier and cleaner, maximum yield meat.
So what he's doing right now is slicing the sashimi that's going to go into our first course. When I lived in Japan, we lived in Hokkaido for 3 years in a scallop fishing village. So I spent a lot of time out there on the boats, learning about the fish in the markets. So we don't have anyone in between us in the fishery. Everything is built out. We're in Japan about 4 times a year, walking the market, talking with our brokers, visiting the fisheries, and we have very specific sustainability protocols.
Hi, my name is Alex Fuentes. I'm the head chef of special projects here at SingleThread Farms in lovely Healdsburg, California. Here we have Chef James. He's slicing what we call zushi, a very old tradition that predates edamame style that kind of was invented in the 1800s. So here we have on the outside pickled daikon inlaid with some bachelor buttons. In between that layer is kampachi that's just lightly cured. Then a herbed rice, so mixing all the herbs from our farm made into a pesto without any of the cheese or nuts, of course. Really gorgeous bite that we've really loved incorporating. This is probably the only thing that resembles sushi that chef will ever put on the menu. Most people's association with Japanese food is sushi. We want to very much try to educate them on all kaiseki, kappo, and all these other amazing disciplines of Japanese cuisine. Grains of paradise. Good morning, Katina. It's always so great to see you every morning. Let's maybe go to the truck and then we can bring it in. Corner. We'll get an order from the farm every day pretty much, but Sunday specifically, Katina will be bringing the harvest to give the rest of the farmers a day off. Some things like this that are very fragile, the squash blossoms that we have, picked every day. So once they open in the morning, we have to wait for a certain time and cherry pick specifically the male ones at a certain size. One of my personal favorites too. Baby cucumbers. These are going on the sashimi course. Macro flats. Micros typically imply when they still have the clover or the heart shape at the bottom. We kind of have really worked with our farm team to have something with a little bit more flavor and more texture and color, so it's more of a pronounced vegetable. Clover sprouts that most restaurants use, and this ultimately has no flavor. Some pepper bounty, so ají dulces. These are like a lightly spicy Peruvian variety, as well as habanadas. But these are one of my favorite things because it's always kind of a fun party trick. You give it to someone, you eat it, they think it's going to be spicy, and then it just never comes. So you kind of prank people here and there. Not just food. Obviously, Katina and her team have an amazing floral department. Half of why SingleThread is what it is because of the floral department. They really bring beauty to everything we do. No one has a floral department. They usually just have one florist. We have an entire department of 5 people.
You know, oftentimes when you're in a restaurant and you're just ordering things from a supplier, you say what you want and then they'll go out and find it. Whereas for us, we get it all. So that's why we're always moving and iterating. That's why nothing on our menu stays the same. We don't have any signature dishes that stay on. It's just constantly in flux. But that's what makes it exciting. That's always fun.
I know.
Thanks, Soph.
My name is Katina Connaughton, and we are at SingleThread Farm. And the goal on this property has really been to bring agriculture front and center and to really bridge the gap between chefs and farmers. The mindset of the farmer is we have to be like omnipresent because we need to be really mindful of everything that is happening and to be able to catch those crops at that perfect moment of texture and flavor. There's really something to be said about the connection between nutrient density and flavor. The two go hand in hand. We're harvesting them same day and they're going straight into the kitchen. But the hope is that guests feel that vibrancy in everything they eat and they feel invigorated.
We often describe that first course as where we say hello and goodbye to things in the season. All the days that we don't have tomatoes, and then one day, 1 pint of tomatoes comes in. And like that's that first day. And then the next day it's 2 pints, and then the next week it's a flat, and then it's like the tidal wave. There has to be that day where just the first ones come in. So that day is not the day we can put a whole tomato dish on the menu. So we have a small bite where it's just, maybe a slice of sashimi and a half a tomato and something like that.
So the different stations organized in the restaurant, we have our cold section over here. We refer to as Hassun, as Chef was mentioning, that first course. In this corner, we also have in the cold section salad course, or we kind of call the seasonal position. Far left, Stefan over there works the sashimi station. After Hassun, we'll always have a raw course, typically sashimi. This one's moriawaze this time of year, so it's a sampling of 3 different types of fish, featuring with cucumbers. Then in the center section here, we refer to this as Donabe, paying homage to the wall back here and all the clay pots we work with. Because of the burners, all the clay pots have to be cooked on fire. It's where I actually started, so I'm very partial to that station. And then on the far side here, kind of simple to call it, hearth, split up into 2 sections. We have the protein or the meat section, and then the veg section, kind of doing more of the seasonal vegetable course. So right now we're gonna be frying a couple of our bites. We have these amazing yaya carrots, really sweet, smaller orange carrots that we're frying. Tossing the fried carrots while they're still warm and covered in oil to really have all those spices adhere. We're gonna dredge them in a little za'atar sashimi, and then they'll get cut up and served for the first course. Really delicious peppers. These are patchwork peppers. They actually ripen from black to red. They're extremely sweet and really amazing flesh. Lower heat here, just to slowly blister them. I don't really want to cook them too much, get some of that smoky flavor. I'll put them in the hotel pan and let them steam, and then we'll peel them later. When we were kind of grilling these peppers and I let them steam for a couple hours, all the juice that was purging off of the peppers tasted kind of like an amaro. It was very smoky and very like a little bitter. So then we kind of used that as an inception for the non-alcoholic pairing. While we're obviously doing this, we're building up the fire to start rendering our ducks out. So in the morning, the meat prep cook will bring out the ducks we've aged roughly for 10 to 14 days, depending on size. Render them until they start to sweat, lightly cooking out some of the fat. We grow this variety of duck Chef Kyle really loved. It's coming from the UK. It has more of a gamey flesh and texture, so a little bit more dense meat and flavor, with also the fat cap not being so thick. What he loves is that crispy duck skin. We've managed to get them to start to grow these varieties specifically for us. So they'll hang out up here for probably 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the fire. The cook will rotate them around to make sure they're weeping, and then break them down for service and get them ready. Chef Maverick is going to be punching out flower petals of our lacto-fermented pepper juice. So again, with the bounty of peppers, sweeter variety of bell peppers we have called Corno del Toro. After they've been fermented, they take on a very tropical Peruvian ceviche vibe. I don't know how to describe it, but these varieties of peppers are really sweet, and then we'll activate it with low acyl gum, which is a irreversible gel. So once it's heated, it can't melt again. So basically, if you put it into a hot soup, it won't melt, as opposed to gelatin or agar at a certain temperature will re-melt.
This is like the absolute best way that you can cook rice. So we cook all of our rice and grains. This is what the modern day like rice cooker is actually trying to emulate. Donabe just means earthenware pot in Japanese. Come from a producer in a very rural area of Mie Prefecture. It's called Iga, about an hour and a half north of Kyoto. It's from a family called the Nagatani family. They're now entering their 9th generation of making these pots. But they go back even more. The clay in Iga used to be underwater, so the clay there is filled with fossils from hundreds of thousands of years ago. So when they make these clay pots, clay has all these fossils in it, and they fire it, those fossils dissolve, and they leave behind these air pockets. It actually moves heat like inefficiently around, so they heat up all the way around, and then they radiate the heat into the food. So it's really made to sort of keep in moisture, sort of penetrate products with heat, and sort of extract out the sort of natural flavors into that. So it's like ancient technology, and they're the main cooking tool at SingleThread. Very like agnostic to different cooking techniques. We'll use something very ancient, obviously as ancient as an open fire, to these clay pots, which are thousands of years old, to modernist, cooking with very precise temperatures and that sort of things, and sort of blend these cooking techniques together. This is Yuji Nagatani. His grandchildren are becoming the 9th generation. He was the 7th generation. The kind of grandfather, the godfather of all things Donabe. It's for the kitchen. It's not something that the guest sees. He's always watching over us and reminding us about this sort of love, and you can see like the love and like joy on his face. He inspires me, and I love to see his face every day in our kitchen.
It's not the caviar, it's not the gold leaves, it's not the usual luxury, but these are still, I think, more valuable and more precious as a luxury ingredient. So these are the matsutake mushrooms for the gohan, the last savory course, the rice dish. These ones are coming not from Japan, obviously, as we like to kind of showcase the West Coast. These are known as pine mushrooms as well. So they grow at the base of pine trees. Very few mushrooms have this kind of veil, and the cross-section and the density of the mushroom is really revered. The aroma, it's very fragrant and very uniquely fragrant. A lot of mushrooms can have what I like to say the butter popcorn, the oaky Chardonnay smell to them, Mayatakis, and like those have their own flavor aroma. These are very specific and delicate when they just pop out of the soil, and they're still very fresh before that cap has time to overgrow and open up. So it's like being able to find these, they're actually kind of almost fully covered by all the pine. Finding a perfect one that is of a certain size is extra value added. Our homage to Japan, which is where then a local ingredient that is revered in Japan is our story, because we can't grow everything on the menu. They get grilled very lightly and served very just plain on the dish.
About 20 minutes before we open our doors for service, we start preparing our first course. So when guests arrive, it's on the table. It's really our version of hospitality, where we know that our guests maybe skipped lunch today and they've been traveling. We want them to know that they're here to have fun. So the dish is comprised of 10 individual small bites. Kind of call it like a snapshot of today and what's happening in our farm, what's in season, the different fish, vegetables, everything all at once, and then 2 to 3 warm bites that follow once they start to eat. Every 15 minutes, we have a seating, and so they're building every 15 minutes all throughout the night. Different flavors, different textures, acidity, umami, a bit touch of sweetness, vegetables, raw, fresh, cooked, grilled. So we kind of touch on all of these different flavors and textures. If we have about 70 guests and 10 plates for each guest, this station will produce about 700 plates or more of food every single night. Leave thinking a little bit about sort of the connection to nature, about locality, seasonality. Time is such a luxury. We live lives of constant connectivity. We want to give guests these moments, a pause, a breath in life,